Hi, I'm Larry Micarenda, and welcome to Smithtown Town Council Update. And with us is Mr. Ed Werheim, who's councilman from the Smithtown Town. And Ed, so many things going on in Smithtown, a lot of catching up to do, a lot of issues to cover. How you been?
I've been terrific. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be back and here so we can inform our residents of what's going on in Smithtown. To go back to the summer in happier times, as you said, we actually had a very successful summer. Most of our facilities, parks, beaches, our recreational fields were actually booked to capacity, which is indicative of this type of economy. I think last time we were here, we spoke about that people have staycations and they hang around home more than they usually would in a good economy. So the facilities were widely used. The only place we had a slight decrease in service was actually at the golf course. And again, I would contribute that to the economy that we have ongoing right now. There were quite a few less golfers that used the facility. It had good points and bad points. First of all, for MPH management, who runs the golf course first, of course, they don't make as much revenue. But on the good side, even the golf course superintendent said that what it did do, it afforded the course to have a rest period, because generally in the summertime, Blanding is one of the most widely used golf courses probably in the county. So the course got a little bit of a rest, less traffic, less of a beating, and in essence, it became a much more groomed golf course for the residents to use.
A lot easier to do the renovations and updates that need to be done, and it's very hard to do it when you have like 20, 30 golfers
Yeah, it's
out there on the greens.
difficult. It's a 7-day-a-week operation, and so less golfers actually afforded the superintendent to do some extra projects, as you said, and the course was in just terrific shape all year. So he was pleased about that, and I'm sure it works out well, and hopefully the economy will pick up and we'll resume heavy use maybe next summer.
Beaches and marinas, again, most beautiful area in Smithtown. How'd they fare?
The beaches
standing
and
room
marinas,
only again, or what?
Yeah, no, beaches and marinas very, very busy. All our receipts for group picnics at all our beaches were up. Just camping was filled to capacity. Boating traffic was about normal. That has decreased over the last 5 years or so. Again, certainly contributed to the downturn in the economy. But the people who do more boats and keep them in our slips and stuff, very, very active. Every weekend, those places were extremely crowded.
And the usual festivities, Memorial Day weekend parades, some of the other youth activities. I know that you were very big on that with the Parks Department and some of the youth programs that you had for the summer. How was the turnout for that?
Sure. No, turnout was terrific. The parades, the special events, very, very well attended. And as far as the organized sports go, which I am a big advocate of, I will tell you that I just met recently with KPY, Kings Park Youth Little League Association, and actually their membership is way up. And I think that's indicative of most organizations. They're looking for more field space, which is something that we have to work on. We don't have anything immediately, but they've increased their membership, so those facilities are widely used.
And as we get into fall in Smithtown, counting all the numbers that we just had from the summer, starts working on the budget, which is going to be the 2013 budget. How has the budget negotiations and everything else done? I mean, as we're winding down to 2012 in Smithtown, how does Smithtown fare over the year? Okay?
Right. We fared very, very well in Smithtown. I think we discussed this at one of our last sessions. We actually did very well in 2012. Coincidentally, we just approved the 2013 budget today at the 2 o'clock board meeting. Supervisor had sent it down. We had discussions with department heads, made some minor adjustments, and actually we fared pretty well. The increase that we passed along to the taxpayers was about $46 a household for the year. Primarily that was caused by an increase in pension contributions from the state of New York, which is unavoidable. And also, that was about $1.1 million, by the way, and $800,000 to $900,000 in increased in employee health care coverage. That really was the lion's share of the tax increase, both of which are mandates because of contracts and the state pension system. So unavoidable. Along with that, though, we've had no layoffs. It was not necessary to lay any employees off. No service cuts. All our facilities will be open. So if you look around at the big picture of what's going on Long Island, I think Smithtown has done an excellent job once again in serving the public. And again, minimal tax increase. We would love to make that zero, but it wasn't possible. But I think the tax-paying residents understand that because the level of service will remain the same. And in Smithtown, our residents expect that.
And one of the services that were being offered that we just touched on our last program was the highway and road improvement.
Correct.
Things that had to be done. And,
Correct.
Even more so now, but we'll get into that in a moment.
Right. We had a very successful year with our highway department road program. Mr. Jorgensen, again, has proven he's done a wonderful job. He's almost completed with it. Of course, the hurricane interrupted the completion of it. And I don't know, I think 3, maybe 4 roads are left for the season, but basically he finished everything that he sent to the town board in far as the road program goes. So we're in pretty good shape there. And as I said, the only interruption was the hurricane, which that we just encountered. So that's what he went to in the last couple of weeks.
And before we get into the damage done by Hurricane Sandy in Smithtown, one of the things that was just being worked on was the Route 25 project.
Correct.
At Smithtown, which is pretty much now completed.
Correct.
If you mind telling the audience a little bit about that.
Sure. What we did, and most residents know, we've been working with State DOT. 25 A through Smithtown is Smithtown Main Street. It's controlled by State DOT. It's a state road. We've negotiated with the state due to some tragic accidents about slowing traffic down. State DOT, Senator Flanagan, extremely cooperative. We've had some very productive meetings. And the result is they took the westbound lane and narrowed it from 2 lanes to 1 lane in the westbound direction. And we did it at our behest, the town board of Smithtown, with traffic markings so that we could give it 6 months, 8 months, perhaps a year to see how it worked out before there were any permanent hard barriers put in the middle of the road. They did it in traffic marking. They did some retiming of the traffic lights, and there is no question it has certainly slowed traffic down. In the beginning, it was a bit problematic. People were not used to slowing down to the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is what the speed limit is on that road anyway. We had minimal complaints, quite honestly. People were not getting to work as quickly as they wanted to. But the whole idea was to slow traffic down and make that main street much safer for pedestrian traffic as well as vehicles. And that was accomplished. It's working out very well. As I said, the DOT retimed some lights, and traffic seems to be flowing just as good as it was before, except it is a bit slower, which was what the intent of the project was.
But there's been so many less accidents and so many less fatalities since it's been...
Well, certainly, we think it's going to work. Upon completion, thank goodness, we haven't had any further tragic incidents since we did that. So to this point, it's working. Will it continue to work in the future? We certainly hope so. Both the state and the town worked very diligently to address those issues, and I think it may very well work. And in the future, we may even go further with State DOT for some traffic calming and movement of traffic issues down the road.
Now, as we had said before, everybody's probably been hearing about Hurricane Sandy.
Sure.
But Smithtown was definitely not an exception from her wrath. No. During this season that we got hit with it. And you're probably going to be hearing a lot more about updates in Sandy in the months to come. But St. James, unaccessible for a while there. Just
we were
unbelievable.
Smithtown, you're absolutely right. It was a huge storm. I was actually a field level supervisor in Hurricane Gloria and was out in the field. And I can tell you that from being in town hall and working with our emergency preparedness division through this storm, this was a far worse storm than Hurricane Gloria as far as tree damage and also structural damage to homes. Many of our residents suffered greatly with trees going through the roofs and taking parts of the house down. I know LIPA was a huge issue. People were out of power, but there were many, many homes that were severely damaged. Our hearts go out to those people, of course, and we're doing everything we can to assist them. our building department is expediting permits. If you call the building department, they're also available with building inspectors to come out and look at damage. So that's ongoing, but it was probably, as they're saying, it was probably one of the worst storms we've had in 100 years. And you're right, St. James, Nessaquag, the incorporated village, extensive amount of tree damage. A great amount of trees came down, blocking roads, etc. And that was the case in other parts of town, not as severe, but certainly it was the case. And many of the trees that came down, of course, you're on the North Shore of Long Island, took the power out, and then it takes time to get that back. I mean, we actually toured parts of the town with Mr. Harvey, the former LIPA executive, and Senator Flanagan. Brought him in to look at a few things just to decipher why some of these outages were so complicated. And what most people don't realize, there's many sections of Smithtown where the electric is actually run in the backyards of their homes, between two backyards of a home.
Right.
Those people have developed those backyards in those neighborhoods. They've had swimming pools and cabanas, etc. So it is impossible to get any type of equipment back there, like bucket trucks, etc. It's all handwork. And that's what caused a lot of those type of neighborhoods, an extensive amount of time to get it back.
Now, also, that great sense of volunteerism that's in Smithtown. You had a lot of the volunteer, fire departments, EMTs, medics, everything like that were all coming out to lend a hand. I know that there was, they had did something with the station houses for people that, lost the power, needed to take a shower, needed to keep warm, because we got, what do we get next? But,
Sure.
A nice little snowstorm to go on top of it.
No, right on top of it. No, absolutely. Look, I applaud all of our volunteer fire departments. Not only did they house these out-of-state people, which actually, believe it or not, many of them come here to work from, we had a Canadian group that came. The first night or 2 nights in some cases, they were actually just sleeping in their trucks. They had no lodging, no food. Pretty remarkable that they come to do that work and try to help out the island. And I'm sure they did that in parts of Jersey and Connecticut also. But the fire departments really did step up, and I applaud those firemen. They opened up their firehouses. I know a good friend of mine, Matt Condon, our ex-commissioner, him and his wife, and many volunteers, the Chief John Hansen, ex-Chief Tom Duckham, and the members of the Smithtown Fire Department. And I think that's indicative of our other volunteer fire departments also. I mean, they volunteered to come in and make breakfast. They made them lunch to go out in the field. They cooked them dinner. So, I think all of the out-of-state workers that come in, both tree crews and electric crews, if you were to ask them about our volunteer fire departments in the town of Smithtown, all of them, I think they would applaud them. They've done a wonderful job for those people, which enabled them to get out there and actually get the power back up and running for our residents.
And Ed, the next $1 million question has to be, how did the town facilities, marinas, beaches, and everything else do during that storm?
Right. Well, we actually did fairly well. Of course, we've had tree damage also in town facilities. We've had some sidewalk and some roadway damage, minimal. Our marinas fared pretty well. The biggest issue that we had in town actually was beach erosion. The number of our beaches, we had some severe erosion at Callahan's, Kings Park Bluff. Down at the East End, we had some damage to a couple of our aluminum walkways at the marina. But all in all, we were very fortunate that there was not a lot of structural damage. Thank God no one was injured, none of our workers, no patrons that were using the facilities days after the storm. So in that respect, we fared pretty well. The downside for the municipality and the taxpayer is the cost of what it's going to take to, as a result of the storm, which is a phenomenal amount of money.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is FEMA going to step up to bat and help out the town of Smithtown with all this damage that was done, as it's going to be doing with Long Beach, Oceanside, and some of the other towns that were severely hit?
Right. Well, yes, they are, to answer your question. Our Emergency Preparedness Division is run out of our Public Safety Department. John Valentine is the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for the town. And he immediately, as soon as the storm started, he immediately had FEMA representatives contacted. LIPA representatives. Actually, we had about 15 LIPA crews in Smithtown the day after the storm, which would have been Tuesday. We did very well. We actually, I know there is some criticism, but I will tell you from Smithtown's viewpoint, we had a great amount of cooperation from LIPA. Just a very difficult storm with the trees that had to be moved first, which our highway department was involved in. And we will be getting reimbursed from FEMA. We're pretty notorious in Smithtown, quite frankly, for doing very detailed paperwork. We've been through it before. I think in Irene we got over $1 million reimbursed. This is going to be more than that, but I'm very, very confident that our departments will cooperate. And it's really with FEMA about the paperwork procedure. If you follow their procedures, you will get the reimbursement. If you don't and you neglect it, it's very, very difficult because, of course, they can't verify what you're putting in for.
You go to the back end of the pile,
Go to the
right?
back of the pile. But we're notorious for doing very well with them, quite frankly. And I know that will be the case this time, too.
Well, the thing that got me was that, to sit back and say, all right, now the town departments have to go out. Who had to handle like the heaviest part of the town, aside from public safety,
Right.
was the highway and parks department. Parks,
Correct.
because a lot of times they have the heavy equipment that highway, and they have to work together to get things done. And the poor highway workers, it had to be like a nonstop cleanup in Smithtown. Like every single block they were going down.
No, it really was. I applaud all of those departments. It's actually Parks, Sanitation, and Highway Department. Collectively, they combine that workforce. They do that in every kind of an event, emergency event. They combine the equipment, the manpower, and they work the better part of 2 weeks, actually just day and night. Our first order of business is to open roads so we can get emergency vehicles, fire, ambulance, etc. And those departments had that completed probably in the second day of the storm. Every road practically was in Smithtown, with very few exceptions, were open to emergency vehicles. So that's job one. Once that's done, then we merge with the electrical crews. They shut grids down. We take trees down with machinery. We have chainsaw personnel. We assist them getting the trees down off the wires so they can restring what they need and power that grid back up for the home. So just as an example, that combined workforce right now as we speak and from the day of the storm has about 85 pieces of heavy equipment operating, along with about 45 pieces of private sector equipment, which we lease. So, you're looking at a vast amount of equipment out there still working. That's collecting, hauling, grinding. We have approvals. We're taking a lot of our brush to the Brookhaven landfill. They set up a burn curtain there, oversaw by FEMA and DEC. We had permission to bring our brush there because the brush is coming in faster than we can get it out. So we're doing that as well as shipping some out with our normal Trinity or normal hauler that takes our brush during the year. But the program's working well. Actually, Glenn Jorgensen advised us yesterday that he's already made a complete circuit of the entire town of Smithtown, first pickup with any brush that was out, leaves, etc. And starting tomorrow, which is Wednesday, he'll be starting on the second round because that'll be necessary. But did an excellent job, very dedicated workforce, and my hat's off to them. They really did take care of the residents.
Now, you on your end, the town council, because you don't work alone.
Right, correct.
Your other members of the council had to go out around Smithtown too. Can you tell some of their stories?
Sure. Well, the supervisor, he runs out of his office. The town hall is generated with a power generator, so you have your phones and your computers and lights. So he coordinates from there, stays in touch. Myself and Councilman Creighton and Councilman Malloy, we were over in public safety, which is where our emergency preparedness headquarters is based every morning. Collectively, the town board, all of us were out there through the entire storm. We actually, in the middle of the week, Wednesday or Thursday, we saw the need to order a couple tractor trailer loads of ice, which we did. That was well received. The residents emptied it out by the second day. We also opened town hall and Parks Department and a number of our facilities so people could come in and charge computers and cell phones, because when the power went out, one of the biggest issues 3 or 4 days after the storm, they still had no communication, no cell phone, if they couldn't power them up or charge them. So we opened the facilities, and I'd stop in from time to time each day, and there were a lot of residents utilizing the service, so that worked out well. They could come in, charge up their phone, have a cup of coffee. They were charging laptops, then they'd go home and they'd be good for 2 days, so they'd have some type of communication until we got the power back up.
Now, I know another subject that's very dear to your heart, and you had mentioned it before on the other shows that we had, were the senior citizens of Smithtown and the senior citizen programs.
Sure.
You were very worried about that during the storm. Can you tell us how things went with them?
Well, it went rather well. We had our senior center open every day from 8 to 8, and many of our seniors took advantage of that. They served food. It was heated there for them. The only thing that we cannot do, and that's a county issue, is the county now controls shelters. They don't allow municipalities to individually go out and open up shelters. And that's for security reasons. The Red Cross deals with the county. So there were 3. There was one in Brentwood closest to Smithtown, 2 further points east that were open. If they had to go and stay for any length of time. They accept pets, etc. And it's all done through our website. We let people know, and via radio stations. Where they're located, and the county operates them. But we opened our senior center, and many of our seniors availed themselves of those services, which were good because we served them the meals, and it was a place for them to go for the day.
So for 12 hours out of a 24-hour day, half the day,
we had that facility open and up and running. Yes.
That's fantastic. I mean, people just don't realize, everybody looks at their own pain and suffering during the storm and say, we had it the worst. We really have to look around at the island, really see how bad it was. But the worst thing had to be is, like, if you're a senior, you're home alone, you don't know what to do. It's good that the programs are there in the town, that people and the senior citizens and, of course, the youth services can take advantage of those services pretty much any time, right?
Oh, sure, anytime. We're up and running, 365 days a year. With the senior facilities, all our youth, the facilities that we have are organized, youth, sports, etc. We stay working and up and active all year. As I said, our emergency preparedness facility is 65 Maple Avenue, where public safety is housed. And for example, we had seniors that called in that lived alone. Some needed, medical transportation, and we can coordinate all of those aspects from that building. That building is fully generated; it's powered up all the time. We have park rangers. Our radio system is always up and running. We have satellite phones in the event that there's some type of a failure with the phone lines. So we are in good shape to take good care of our residents to the best of our ability, and that's what we strive to do.
That was going to be my next question. That is, we got hit with this killer storm, and what's going to be done in Smithtown in the future to help prevent these type of storms? What can the town do to remain a little bit more prepared?
Well, to be quite frank with you, we do a pretty good job in Smithtown. Like I said, we had 15 LIPA crews the day after the storm hit. So we are, that emergency preparedness division is very, very organized. They're a very organized crew. They're in touch with the Office of Emergency Management with the county on a daily basis. So certainly, actually, the only thing I could say that we could improve on, to be quite honest with you, is a communication factor. We will look at that. We'll be debriefed after, we get into this cycle of recovery, we call it, picking up the brush and clearing the streets. And that has to be done, of course, before the snow flies, because we can't do snow removal operations till we have that done. So that's ongoing as we speak. But communications-wise, we might look into radio stations. We had some speakers at the meeting today that said that they had really no communication other than radio, AM or FM radio stations. And
some of them actually got even knocked off.
Some of them were knocked off. I think 103 had 2 FM stations, 1 AM station, and a number of residents came in today. And I think what we'll do when we debrief, we may want to find better access so that we can get more of our information from Smithtown out on those radio stations. Other than that, I believe, and I'm fairly proud of it, that I think we took very good care of our residents. Certainly understand the concerns. People were getting on edge with the no electric. That's going to happen, but I will tell you that it was the severity of that storm was more than people thought. There was a massive amount of primary electric wires down, and that's something that doesn't get up and running quickly. But look, LIPA, I'm sure, will do a complete review of what happened with them. And the other issue, as we talked about, was the volunteer fire departments. Perhaps in the future, we may want to look into setting something up for those volunteers that come from out of state, because, as I said, the first 2 days they were actually just sleeping in their vehicles, which I think every municipality would look to do something a little more advanced in that respect.
Right. And another thing that was just mentioned quickly before we wrap up here was cell phones. All the cell phone towers were overloaded because there was no internet,
No.
Unless you had the internet on your phone, and even that was jammed up or slow.
Sure.
Texting was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
And, a half hour to get a phone call through.
Yep.
So that's something that, the big companies, AT&T, Verizon, and the other companies that are the cell towers, they need to work on too,
Yeah.
which will be addressed through both FEMA and the state.
Sure,
So-
they're going to have to, because you're absolutely correct. I mean, I can tell you, I have Optimum at home, and once it went out, there's nothing. There's no cell phone service. There's no laptop, no computer, no TV. So you really are, you're out there with no communications, no doubt. And I think you're absolutely correct. That's something that these larger agencies start to look at as far as generator power for these towers and these service stations. I don't think anybody anticipated that there would
No.
be the gas debacle that there was.
A bit of a throwback to the 70s, Ed?
It certainly was, and a lot of it was perpetuated on the fact that they had fuel in the ground but couldn't pump it. So
Right.
the state may want to look, and Long Island, as we all know, your only mode of transportation on the island is a vehicle. There's no mass transit here to speak of,
Right.
so vital that we have it. So I would hope the governor's office may take a look at finding a way that service stations, it's either mandatory that they have a generator available to pump gas emergency, or that we afford them a generator somehow through the government. I know they have them, just so that we can have these stations up and running. Because that was a bit of a mess. That turned into a real mess. There were gas lines all over the island, as you well know, miles long. Tempers flared. It was scary for a while.
It wasn't a good situation.
It was not a good situation.
But we're basically out of time here, Ed, for this Smithtown Town Council update. I wanted to thank you for coming on
Okay.
and letting the public know what's going on. Hopefully we'll be able to get you back in the future, give an update on maybe how much money is going to be coming back from Sandy into Smithtown, and some of the other things that may be going on in Smithtown that residents want to know.
Sure, absolutely. When we get everything finalized with FEMA and that, I'd love to come back, and this way I can advise the residents of what their return was for their federal money that they send into the federal government. This way they know.
Okay. Well, I'm Larry Micarenda. This has been Smithtown Town Council Update with Ed Werheim. We'll see you soon right here on Government Access Programming here on the Smithtown Channel. Take care.
Hi, I'm Councilman Ed Werheim, and I'd like to send a message to our residents in the town of Smithtown to enjoy and have a very successful, safe, and healthy holiday season. If you need any information, you can certainly call the council office. As far as holiday festivities go, we'd be more than happy to supply that to our constituents. Thank you very much.